Hey, what's up, guys? Today, our topic's gonna be about shapes.
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 Shapes. Shapes. Shapes.
Shape.
Because they're important. So we'll start off with something simple like our squares. And that'll help us. And we'll start off with like a 2D. So a flat shape. So we also want to think about how this shape is going to be put into 3D form. So once we start talking about 3D, 3 dimensions, we want to start talking about how we're turning our shapes, the perspective that we're using. So there's 1 point perspective. So 1 point perspective meaning there's 1 point that the lines are going back to and connecting, right? So if I'm using 1 point perspective, all I'm doing is using this dot right here, and all my lines are going to follow back until I get to this line here, see? So with that in mind, I'm thinking this could be turned into a cube. So once I have this kind of perspective in mind, I can just cut this right here in half, and you have yourself a cube, see? And this could be an ice cube, this could be a TV later on, this could be a building, this can be a tunnel, you know, so things like that. I want to start turning things upside down. Let's say if I have this like from the bottom perspective, like if I'm looking upwards, right? I can still create my square, and you see how I'm turning it at an angle. I'm creating my square shape, right? And I'm thinking about the perspective, that 1 point perspective, right? So these lines are going right back to here, right? So from the corners. And then all I do is just chop it up right here. And then I have myself the bottom of this shape. And I'm going to shade it in so I can help differentiate that. And you can see it a little bit better, you see? This gives you a little bit more of a visual. And I also like to use highlighters a lot when I'm drawing. So I can either use it to shade the area that I want to be in the dark, or I can create like a floor for it, see? And this kind of helps you have fun with your sketchbook as well. I'm gonna turn this cube maybe on its other end. We're gonna try to do it from the top view, right? So we're gonna do it from here. So it's just gonna be like a flat on. And then I'm gonna put my 1 point perspective on the bottom. So my lines are gonna follow along to here, to that point. And then I'm gonna choose where I'm gonna cut it out. And I'm gonna cut it there, see? So this can be a top point or like a perspective from the top, and I'm kind of at an angle, so this is on the side. So understanding shapes is what helps us like get different forms. You can start creating, like I said, buildings, cars, even heads. You could put a head inside here. So if you have your head shape, you have your circle there. And this can help you like with direction. So like you can have it facing one way. You see how I'm blocking in the skull. And this is the cheeks, right? So the head is in that perspective. You see how it's kind of tying in? And this is how like a lot of artists as well like use it. They don't draw this out every time, but they kind of create a mental map. It's basically like creating that map inside your head. Everything is gonna have those solid shapes. So this is something that I like to do. I like to give myself a direction, and I will start then using that as my block. So I can block in where I want the face of the shape to be in. So if I want it to be more at an angle, then I'm gonna create this at a sharper and steeper angle. So it's gonna be like a sharp angle. So I have this hard edge in front of me right here. If I want it to be looking the other way, looking towards this side, I'm gonna just turn that shape. And I'm going to have it go in that direction. You see what I'm doing? So all it is just practicing these things. Basically like, you know, repetition over and over. So yeah, squares are a perfect way to start. So if I take this, I'm gonna say I'm gonna turn it into like a little spike on my square, right? So I'm gonna kind of create like a cone shape, like that. And you see how I'm going around my shape? That's what I want you to do. This is something additional that you can do to your shape. you can kind of do this, and you can worry about the size and stuff later. But for now, just to kind of understand that these shapes are coming from here, you can do that. This gets you to understand. I'm gonna do a circle right here, and then it's gonna come down. See? And don't worry about them all being perfect. We're just worried about understanding how they come out of the shape. So like if this is my shape here, my point is gonna be there, and this is the one that's facing us, you see? This is the point, the cone that's facing us. Sorry, I can't even talk right now. So I can say this is the one in the back. This is the one on the side, sorry, and I'm gonna scratch this one out. And you see how it starts turning into like a weapon almost, or like another point on the cube. So I can say this is my center here, and I'm gonna create a cylinder, not a cylinder, but a cone, like an ice cream cone. So I'm just creating that oval, and I try to use this as my guide. So the oval is not gonna be a perfect oval. You're gonna kind of slant it a little bit, and you're gonna tell, once you get that square shape, you can tell if it's gonna look, if you make it too wide, it's gonna look off. Or it could be a bigger shape, but you just gotta learn how to play around with it. And it's just about experimenting. Just experiment in your sketchbook. Now we can talk about shading as well. Like shading kind of helps give you more depth in your drawing. So once you start combining your shapes and you understand form, we want to split our shapes in half. You see that? And you can start creating all these planes. So the planes are the different faces. So like this right here is a plane, right? That's one plane. This in the front right here is another plane. And then we have a plane on the side, which we can't see because this was in front of us, and a plane here. And then there's one on the back end as well, all the way in the back. There's another plane. So this is where your head's got to start like thinking about in 3D forms and 3D shapes. So like pretend I have a cube here. I know this is not a cube. I wish I had one. But we're thinking about this front side, right? We have the top, we have bottom, we have the sides, left, right, or right, left, however, which way it's showing. And then you have the back end. So this is what I mean by that. So this skull, if I draw it, I can draw it inside here and be able to show a little bit of the bottom, and I would show the face. And you wouldn't see everything else, but everything would fit inside here. And that's when you can start turning. You see how I can turn the head up, down, different ways like that. Different things. So like if I were to do with pointillism, how we're trying to do the dots, I would make all this bottom dark. So I would say my light is coming from up here, and my shadows are going to be down here, right? So I can create my shadows down here by doing this. So I'm going to speed this part up for us so it don't take too long. See, once you get like the hang of it, then you start seeing the transitions a little bit easier.